I took that ham and I didn't know what they wanted, so I get it on set. That's for Christmas Day. The other one was for Thanksgiving Day. I get it there, and the clients are like, "That's not what we want. We want a spiral sliced ham." Okay, well, can we run? Can we find something? I said, I looked everywhere. There isn't one. And they were really, I could see the disappointment, and I thought, I have to do something. I have to do something.
Yeah.
I said, give me a minute.
What's shakin' bacon? I'm Joni Simon. Welcome to my studio. This is where I do food photography, and the goal here is to improve your food photography skills so you can feel confident behind the camera. And today it is all about food styling because I was recently in Salt Lake City, Utah at the Everything Food Conference, and I got the chance to finally meet up with, in person, my friend Susie Eaton, who is a professional food stylist. She's been a professional food stylist for 14 years and a stylist for 17. And she has a wealth of knowledge, and she is super generous with her experiences and what she knows. And so I thought it would be super helpful just to sit down and pick her brain and share that conversation with you, kind of the behind the scenes of what it's really like to be a professional food stylist and what it took to get there, what it takes to be a really good collaborator working with a food stylist and a photographer. But let's go ahead and jump into a conversation with my friend Susie Eaton.
I have been a stylist for 17 years, but I've been doing food 14 of that 17 years.
Okay, and what was the moment that it was like food really became the transition then?
The need.
Yeah.
It really was. I never set out to be a food stylist. I started out set decorating and doing prop styling. I added food just so I could work more. Mm-hmm. It kind of started coming on. I started getting really excited when I got to do big projects, when I started to be able to travel, and big companies like Kellogg's, Walmart, that made me feel like I was really there. Yeah,
you'd arrived. That's a good moment. And so from there, obviously you have shot tons of different kinds of campaigns, worked with a lot of different photographers. Yeah. I don't even know if you could count how many different photographers you've worked with.
I don't think I could.
Yeah, tons. And so I'm sure each, relationship is different in terms of working with photographers. But for you, what are some of the important steps as a stylist that you need in that relationship with a photographer, kind of going into a shoot to set you up for success?
There's always a lot of meetings. We do pre-pros a lot, but it's important for me to talk to the photographer. Sometimes I don't get to meet them until we're on set, but we always make time to have a little brief meeting and make sure we both understand what we're shooting and what's going on. Photographers are always great. They appreciate having a food stylist just like I appreciate them. And we want to make sure we're successful. So we're always really good with each other to make sure we're not stepping on each other's toes, that I'm giving them what they need, that they're getting what they need from me. I'm always really good about making sure they understand that I will give them some stand-in things so that they can get their lights right. They always want that right up front, so I work really hard to just hurry and get something to them really quickly.
Like a stunt double, kind of, right?
A stunt double, that's my thing, as a stunt double. And then they can start getting their lights right. And then we just learn to communicate. I get along with, I can't think of a photographer I haven't gotten along with. It just works out really well.
I've got to think. There have got to be some situations where things have gone awry because it's food. It's unpredictable. Yes. So can you think of a time when you had a situation where things did not go as planned and you kind of had to swoop in and save the food styling day?
Oh, I can think of so many of those. And I'm going to give a shout out to why it's important to have an assistant too, because there are minor things that go wrong often. You just don't have the thing you need. You think you got everything that you need, but sometimes there's a game change. In the shoot, somebody will say, "Oh, wouldn't it be cool if?" And you're like, "Oh, we don't have that." So assistant goes to the store really quick.
So a food stylist assistant.
Yes, mm-hmm. I have one that works with me almost full time. So she's there and she does a lot of the heavy work. She really doesn't get the credit that she deserves. I get the credit, and she does, at least half of the work. So, but as far as catastrophe kinds of things, or something I'll never forget, it's kind of a long story, but I was on a Friday night busy doing something. I get a call from my agent who's in LA and says, can you be in Mexico City tomorrow? I said, well, first he asked me if I had a passport, and I said yes, and so it's a good thing I had a passport. And he says, well, Walmart is filming a Thanksgiving and a Christmas commercial in Mexico City, and they decided they needed to have an American food stylist there. They have a Mexican food stylist, but all of a sudden it occurred to them that they don't do Thanksgiving, and maybe they need somebody who knows about Thanksgiving. I was super flattered and super excited, and I ran home, and I honestly had to stay up almost all night to get ready for it so that I could catch a plane in the morning and get there. So I get there, and the food stylist that was working on it with me, she was just a doll. Her name was Maru Rangel. I'll never forget her. Just the nicest person. She picked me up, we went shopping, and we were shopping in the streets of Mexico City. And if you've ever been to Mexico City, it is a crazy place. I mean, it used to be like the most populated city ever. I don't think it is anymore, but it was. It was so crazy. We had to have a driver because you couldn't drive there yourself. So I'm in these like back alleys trying to find a turkey. They don't have turkeys there.
No.
So,
no butterballs, just sitting on the grocery store aisle.
So we finally found a butcher that had a turkey. It was about 29 pounds. It was like a pterodactyl. It was crazy. And it was hanging from its feet. It wasn't trimmed up. It had every part of it still on it.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to send you the pictures. You can include them if you want to. So I buy this turkey, but and you know, I don't speak Spanish and they don't speak English, and I'm telling them to cut the head off, and so they cut it all up for me, and I get it there. And two things I need to find: the turkey, and I needed a ham, and they were asking for a spiral sliced ham. They don't do that either.
No.
So I get to the location, and it's a house that's been turned into our shooting location. They have me in the backyard in a tent, and my oven is a pizza oven. It's like this.
What could go wrong?
It's like this tall. My turkey's this big. And so I think, and I knew better to not even try to put it in there, but I needed to get the skin a little bit brown so I could work on it.
Yeah.
I slipped it in there, and I knew when I went to take it out, it ripped the top
of the
skin of the turkey off, but mostly on one side, not the other side. So I was able to work with that. I saved the turkey, saved the day. I got it out of there. I did my trick. If you watch my video.
Yes, we'll link that below.
Yeah, my
awesome.
video of how you do a turkey. I did it just like that, and it turned out beautifully. Then we get to the ham thing and cannot find hams. Their hams are like giant spams. They're kind of a pressed. They don't have the kind of hams like we have.
Processed.
It's a processed thing, and they're about this big. I took that ham, and I didn't know what they wanted, so I get it on set. That's for Christmas Day. The other one was for Thanksgiving Day. I get it there, and the clients are like, "That's not what we want. We want a spiral sliced ham." Okay, well, can we run? Can we find something? I said, I looked everywhere. There isn't one, and they were really. I could see the disappointment, and I thought, I have to do something. I have to do something.
Yeah.
Guys, give me a minute. Just give me a minute. Took it. Went back there, I carved it with a knife in the shape of a ham. I sliced it like spiral slice, so it had all these funny things. And then I took a bunch of herbs and sugars and everything I could just find and packed it around the outside, brought it out, and you would have never known the difference. I'm going to send you these pictures so you can show how it turns out. Yes, and they were long 17-hour days. I was just there for 2 days to hurry and fix that, and then I came home. It was crazy.
You felt like you had just gone through like a tornado at that point.
Crazy.
So as far as, collaborating with photographers and maybe folks who are looking for food stylists, what's a way that you can kind of start a relationship maybe with somebody that you can work with?
So when I very first started into food styling, I didn't know anyone. So I literally just kind of introduced myself. I called photographers, I knocked on doors, I went to visit people. That was a little bit more before the technology that we have now, where it's, it's super easy to find people. But still, I reach out all the time. Sometimes I send out a new work email, and I'll just send it out to people. I look up all of the photography associations, and I look up new photographers, and I'll just send them a little hello and just to introduce myself.
Absolutely. And then, I mean, something you and I had talked about that I thought was so smart, and is a fun kind of exercise, is that we're all looking to build our portfolios, you know, as photographers, as food stylists, and that it's a really great relationship to work together. And so, I mean, I'm sure there's been times that you've worked with photographers just on portfolios, right?
Yeah, well, you know, when I added food to my repertoire, I didn't have any food to show anyone. And so it's kind of that chicken and egg thing. You can't really get a photography job, a food photography job, without showing someone that you've shot food before. So I contacted a photographer that I knew that I had worked on with propping kinds of things. And I said, hey, would you be willing to get together and we'll just shoot a whole bunch of food dishes. You can have them because you need them, and I'll take them and I'll put that on my brand new website to show everyone that I've shot food before. And that's what we did. I still sometimes get calls from photographers who want to do some fun work together. A lot of times that's when you get to do really fun things that you don't get to do for clients, and you can really be creative and do kind of innovative things that you sometimes don't get to shoot for clients.
Yeah. So for the photographers out there, definitely, I mean, there are food stylists in your city, wherever you are. And so reaching out to them and proposing a collaboration opportunity is always probably going to be welcomed, right?
For sure.
Yeah. And so make sure to also share those images with your food stylist after you've completed a shoot, because they'll want those for their portfolio as well.
Definitely.
So I think sometimes when we think about various shoots, like in terms of like the size of a production, obviously you're shooting for Walmart, like that's a big production, a lot of different people involved, but still food stylists can be such an important part of a shoot, even if it's a smaller shoot. You know, what are examples of maybe times that you've done those kind of shoots and when that was a really valuable component?
I think that probably happens more than I do the giant shoots. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I don't want people to think that, you know, it's always big and huge and there's a million people there and that's the only time there's a food stylist, because I do a lot of shoots where it's just me and maybe the client. I even just do shoots where it's just me and the photographer. Sometimes the clients just trust us. Sometimes they're out of town and they really just can't get here, and we just have a really good pre-meetings to know what's going on, and we just shoot. I shoot here in my house a lot. Those are very small shoots. A lot of times you can just shoot with the photographer and then email photos to the client for approval, just to make sure you're on the right page. But I would say that that's probably more what I do, is really small shoots with just 3 or 4 people in the room.
And it's, again, so helpful as a photographer to have a great food stylist too, who understands the way to create food for the camera. Because, you know, like for example, I work with a lot of chefs doing restaurant shoots, and they might plate the food beautifully for the plate and to serve it. But from your perspective, what's kind of the difference of plating for a diner versus plating for the camera?
It's that exactly. So I do work with a lot of chefs, especially when I work in with big restaurants. And, you know, I've kind of come up with a way to talk to the chefs right up front. I go in and talk to them and just, you know, I don't want them to feel like they're not valuable or important. And sometimes I feel like they think if the client is bringing in a food stylist that they're made to feel that they can't do the job, but they really can, because they plate beautifully, and we just make them aware that our camera angle is going to be right here. I just need to make sure this looks really good. So I have a meeting with the chefs usually first thing, and I tell them right away, this is how I like to work. If you would just make the dish once for me the way it's supposed to look, and then give me all of the components, mise en place, if you want to know the actual term, and then I will make it for camera. And I can only think of a couple of times that a chef has been not so happy in the beginning, but by the time we shoot 1 or 2 shots, they're my best friend, and we just get along great. So most shoots just go really well, but that's how we do it. And they just start bringing me things in large quantities, more than I need. I always ask for 2 to 3 times what I need, so I have some options, and then I build it, and they just keep sending it to me, and I keep making it.
So thank you so much, Susie, for taking the time and sharing your expertise. And if you want more videos on food styling, I've got an entire playlist just for you right over here, so go check it out. But with that, I hope you have a fantastic week. You stay out of trouble, and I'll see you soon, okay? Bye!